Something interesting happened the other day when the Bricklink Designer Program unveiled their Series 11 sets. The program director, Alex Kostelich, made a comment that had me very intrigued by what could happen next for LEGO Castle, with some huge implications on the line. What did he say and what could it mean? Well, that's what this video is all about. We're going to do a little bit of speculation and also some musing about Castle, because we like to do that from time to time and it's a lot of fun. So what exactly did Alex Kostelich, the Bricklink Designer Program Director, say? Well, when they unveiled the Royal Crest, which is part of the Series 11 finalists, he said that there are some new things on the horizon for Castle, and that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun for them to work with, he said. And I gotta say, the hosts of the event backed it up. Ooh, new things for Castle fans. I know a lot of people here are excited about that. Well, that's said at Brick World Chicago, which was a live event. They had a live unveiling. People were clapping, and Alex Kostelich did nothing to refute the idea that new Castle is on the way. So I think the first thing I would want to talk about is, does he actually know something, or is he just saying this? If he knows something, why would he know something? Well, for those of you that don't know, Bricklink was actually purchased by LEGO, and the Bricklink Designer Program is a series of basically adult-oriented sets that are designed by fans, voted on by fans, and then released by the Bricklink Designer Program. But they use LEGO production capacities and facilities. So they are going to have to work with LEGO to a certain extent to know which pieces are available, what minifig torsos and accessories are available, and this is important, they have to make sure that they aren't going to conflict with sets that are available from LEGO. And so when they decide these finalists, they have to take all of that and other things into account. So it is possible that the director of the Bricklink Designer Program would know at least a little bit as to what's coming down the road from LEGO, in part because Bricklink is owned by LEGO and they don't want that conflict. So what does that mean? What could that mean for the future of LEGO Castle? Well, let's recap where we're at with the availability of LEGO Castle sets. In 2025, at the end of the year, the Lion Knights Castle and the Medieval Town Square both retired. That left one set that is currently available, and that is the Creator 3-in-1 Medieval Horse Knights Castle. Now that one I think is proving to be a fairly popular set, at least where I'm at, because I've gone to the LEGO store a couple times over the past few months and there aren't a lot of them, if any at all, in stock. And so if they're getting some in, they're selling out. And I think that's a good thing for Castle fans. And hopefully it is showing LEGO that, hey, beyond the Bricklink Designer Program, we can sustain buying Castle sets. So what could this mean, right? If he is indeed being honest and there are new things on the horizon, the way I look at it is there could be one of two options: a new icon set or a new theme. Now, my guess, the most likely scenario, is that we're going to get a new icon set sometime in 2027. When and what would it look like? I think that's where the speculation comes in. Now, in terms of the when, keep in mind that the Bricklink Designer Program Series 11 sets are going up for pre-order in June of 2027. That means that anything that LEGO is announcing or doing prior to that could be fair game for them to use. However, they will be announcing the final images and final versions of those Bricklink Designer Program Series 11 sets about a month before they go up for pre-order. So that would mean May of 2027. So they're not going to introduce a bunch of new things in those images that we haven't already seen, which suggests to me that sometime in the first quarter of 2027 is when we could expect to see something new Castle related, and it could be icons. If you remember back in 2024, the Medieval Town Square was released in, I believe it was March of that year. So that could be the target window for when we can get a new Icons Castle set. If it is an icon set, what would it be? Well, I'm hoping that it would be something significant. It would be some sort of a castle or keep or something along those lines that would fit very nicely with the prior castle sets that we've seen from LEGO over the last handful of years. Now, I do also hope that it uses new parts, new elements, and some design techniques to give us something substantially different from the Lion Knights Castle, which is one of my all-time favorite LEGO sets, one of my favorite sets ever to build. but I do think LEGO would want to move forward on the way castle looks, and they might introduce some new, I don't know, pieces and techniques to get different looks on the castle. If you think back to the Lion Knight's castle, we saw the double curved slopes that were used at the top of the battlements. We saw the window slits, or the arrow slits, I should say, that were designed very creatively. There were a lot of interesting angles, and it definitely had a 1980s era classic castle feel to it, updated and larger. So I'm hoping that it's something similar in terms of concept, late 80s, early 90s, but maybe bringing some different architectural techniques into it, maybe for a different faction. Now, if it is a theme, of course, I'd be super excited for that. I've heard no rumors of themes. There are rumors of January sets already emerging 6 months ahead of time. None of that's been castled, but there's a lot to be determined. But I would love a theme. And we do have factions that would give us a theme, right? We have the Lion Knights, I wish. I love those. But we have the Kraken Knights. We have the Griffin Knights. Those are both available in the vending machine. We also have the Horse Knights, which has their own castle, and then the Snake Knights, which does not have anything. So we have 3 factions that LEGO introduced to us in 2025 that don't have any sort of home that LEGO has created. The closest we are coming to with that is the Dustmark Keep from the Bricklink Designer Program Series 8, which just finished pre-ordering, and that has a lot of Snake Knights in it. But LEGO hasn't produced anything to go with those sets to serve as a rival faction or a base or a boat or whatever you might want for those factions. So that's a distinct possibility. Now, they could give us a theme around those or the icon set. I think the theme is the least likely. But I also think it's interesting when he says that there could be something new, or there is something new on the horizon for Castle fans. What could that mean beyond sets? What could that mean in terms of factions? And we just articulated the 4 new factions we got in 2025, the three of which have no real LEGO sets associated with them. And it could be that we're getting some new stuff for them. And that could be interesting because we might get remakes or new elements to torsos. We could get new torso designs or new arm printing or something along those lines for those existing factions. And so it's entirely possible that the Royal Nest is going to be a Griffin Knights set just like we see, but they could be using new Griffin Knight torsos, something or some that are different from what we got in the vending machine, which that would be interesting. And then maybe there's a competing faction like the Krakens or whomever that have new torsos and goes along with a LEGO set that is being released in 2027. Of course, it's also possible that LEGO could be bringing back an icons or theme, probably an icons if they're going to go this route, that is an old faction that is updated or modernized. And of course, we've seen this happen before with the Lion Knights, the Black Falcons, the Wolf Pack, the Forestmen, and even the Dragon Knights with the Magisto's Gift with Purchase. So there are options that LEGO could use to bring back an existing or old faction to update for 2027. For instance, we know that we are getting the Sea Serpent Gift with Purchase. That is coming out July 7th with a $180 threshold on any theme. So that is the most recent information on that. It's going to come with, I believe, 2 minifigs, and those minifigs should be Black Knights. Now, if you look at the Black Knights from the late 1980s into the early 1990s, they had a lot of chainmail. And so we might be getting an updated version of that. So those figures could be used perhaps in the Bricklink Designer program. But I think in order for them to use something from a gift with purchase, they would have to continue to provide Black Knights in other ways, because I don't think LEGO has opened up like the production that they used for gift with purchase torsos in the Bricklink Designer program sets of the past. So for instance, when we had the Magisto's Workshop and the Black Knight, the Dragon Knight torso, that wasn't included in subsequent Bricklink Designer program set. It's also possible that we could get other factions from back in the day, right? If we think about the way that LEGO's updated some of the 1980s factions, maybe in the early 1990s, there are some factions that we haven't seen a lot of, like the Dragon Knights. We haven't received dedicated for sale sets with those in them. could be even the Royal Knights. That's the 1995 theme or sub-theme for Castle that had lions on them. That could be another faction that they reintroduce. I wouldn't think they'd go much past the mid-1990s, just because the way nostalgia works. I think right now they're still kind of in that late 80s, early 90s to mid 90s era for nostalgia, about 30 years prior. But it is possible that they could go into the mid to late 1990s with maybe the Bat Lords or other factions from that era. So that's a possibility for 2027 in terms of older factions. Another one they could redo that I know a lot of fans might enjoy are the Raven Knights that we got in the collectible minifig series. That's one that a lot of fans would want to maybe get because that minifig is really expensive on the secondhand market. And so it could be that they give us something more with those knights. That would be cool. I would certainly not be opposed to that because I missed that minifig when it was available on the collectible minifig series. So those are some. Now the other option, there's a third option for factions, and that is something entirely new. LEGO could say, you know what, we gave you a bunch of new factions in 2025. We made a lot of them available on the Pick and Build online store, so you could go out and you can buy those torsos, you could buy the weapons and the helmets and things like that. What if we decided to give you something else, something additional? And I think there are a couple ways that they could do this. One, they could go the traditional European route. You think of eagles or boars or bears or something on those crests that would be, you know, very European. They could also go more Asian. We saw with the Ancient Moon Gazing Inn that there could be this world out there that is more Asian medieval, and you could see something that fits in faction-wise with those, and they could introduce that in the Royal Crest in the 2027 Bricklink Designer Program Series 11. So there are these different options out there that I think would be a lot of fun to see what LEGO will do with that. I think it's good to hear that we're getting something new in Castle in 2027 because, let's be honest, 2026 so far outside of the Bricklink Designer Program has been pretty disappointing. I'm really excited for the Sea Serpent, and we'll talk more about that as we know some of the deals surrounding the Insiders Weekend from July 7th to 12th. But other than a gift with purchase, it's kind of been dry. I really enjoy the Horse Knights castle. We're actually building another big castle out of the pieces that we have from 3 of those. So that's going to be coming down the line from us in the next week or so. So there's a lot out there that you can do with what's available, but there's not a lot available. And I hope that we get more in 2027. One other thing that I'll note is that a lot of people have mentioned that on the box for the Medieval Horse Knights castle, there is a silhouette of a castle in the background. So that's entirely possible we get something related with the creator line that could go along with that set. That is another option that I've seen people talk about, and I think that's a realistic one as well. I'm hoping though it's going to be something icons or a theme. I think it's just something more detailed or something that's more developed than Creator 3-in-1. As much as I've enjoyed some of the Creator 3-in-1 sets, especially Castle, I do want something that's a little bit more intentional from LEGO. But we'll see. Let me know in the comments down below what you're hoping to see in Castle 2027, whether it's an icon set, a theme, which factions. Put that all down there, and we'll hopefully be able to address some of those in the comments, as well as a future off the cuff or other videos. Thank you so much for watching, and always remember to keep building together.